Right. Let's talk about can you do without a degree?
Good question.
Well, for me, the way I see it is times have changed. We're not in that sort of like era where Robert Kiyosaki was growing up and he had his... By the way, before I continue, I'm out of breath because I did some press-ups.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Just to get into it, man, you know, just to get that energy right. But yeah, we're not in that stage where, you know, the state is good to us and the economy is booming and we can get a 9 to 5 where we do the 40-40-40 plan, where you work for 40 years, for 40 hours a week, and then get taxed at 40%. Do you know what I mean? I think we're in a situation where you can actually make opportunities through the vast amount of stuff out there, such as the internet, things on social media as well, just sort of like boosting your personal brand, you know, as an individual.
I agree. I think that it's important to have a degree in certain cases, in certain fields. It makes sense. I feel that also we need to value apprenticeships just as much because I've seen too many cases where people have gone off to get a degree and when they're coming out, they're managed by the person who got the apprenticeship.
It's true. That's actually a good point. You know, if I'm thinking about obviously what I do as a commissioner, like I think the degree only helped maybe to show that I'm competent, so to speak, but didn't necessarily need that degree to get into what I'm doing. And I think people think, oh, because it's, you know, NHS related, it's related to medical biochemistry, all this kind of stuff, I needed a degree. Really and truly, no. It came down to, at the end of the day, me being quite ambitious when applying for jobs. And my route didn't require the degree. Because initially I thought I wanted to do medicine. Which is a slightly different, well, it's not even slightly, it's very different to what I'm doing now. And I think jobs like that require a degree. Jobs like becoming a solicitor or lawyer require a degree. Maybe you could argue architecture.
Yeah, but I feel like also it depends on what is the uni experience as well.
Yeah.
Because it's more than just a degree. And I think sometimes we boil uni down to being a degree. But uni is actually a place where you can learn to meet people. And I mean, for me, I went to Greenwich University and it was diverse. And, you know, your lecturer put you in groups of people that in real life you would never have the opportunity to meet because you just come from different backgrounds, you socialize in different places. And now you sit down and talk and you realize, actually, we got a lot of similarities. We even though we have a different background, a different upbringing, there are things that we like that are the same. And there are things that we can relate to. And it shows that, you know, actually, the one real race is the human race.
Mad.
And that's what I learned at uni. Do you know what I mean? And then it's the presentations and standing up in front of your peers and being nervous, but getting over that and doing that and writing a report and how to write assignments. Because when you get into the workplace, these are the things that you need to do. And so I feel like also living on your own, paying bills. Do you know what I mean? If you move out, now you got to work out, you got a budget, you got to learn how to save. These are some key lessons that people learn. And so for me, you can't just put it down to only a degree. It is a life experience. And so that has to be accounted for at the same time.
You know, thinking about that, I'm thinking there were so many opportunities I could have taken at university, you know. I used to network like crazy, you know, and I made money at university through sort of like raves, parties, just, you know, ad hoc ones here and there. But I'm just thinking if I was to carry that on, not necessarily the whole sort of party thing, but just carry on, you know, relating or sort of forming those relationships with that network and everything else, I just feel like it just would have taken me to a different level. Because when I see people who are really popping off now, they were able to harbor or keep that sort of relationship or network with those people and expand it. You know, they really capitalize on the whole university experience. And I 100% echo the whole life experience stuff that you get from university. Because those people who are apt and seize the day when it comes to going to university and learning these skills really do sort of like make a name for themselves outside of university. But it's just a shame that the degree doesn't necessarily, have enough gravitas to actually get you to where you need to get to, unless you're in a certain niche. And I think sometimes it takes people a long time to get over that. You know, there are conversations I've had in the past where people are like, oh, I can't believe that, you know, I'm not using my degree or X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. But you see these young bucks coming up now, they've been told all of this stuff. So they're being really smart about how they apply themselves. They're already thinking about 2 steps ahead. Where I feel like, at least with my generation, I'm not sure about your generation, obviously, it was slightly different. You know, it's almost like sometimes, not everyone, but some people were working it out as they were going along, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. But I think also business, like you can learn, like I've had people who, you know, they learn how to cut hair, go to certain unis, they're out at the ends.
Oh, you just reminded me of a story,
Ain't
bro.
no barbershop out there, you understand? But there's the brother that can cut your hair.
Some people you can cut your
You
hair.
understand? Not everyone, but some people can cut your hair. Do you know what I mean? And then that becomes a business. There was this. I was speaking to one lady who started off making food for people, because obviously you're out there. There ain't no jollof. Do you know what I mean? But she's out there. She's buying the stuff, making it. You go around there, you can get food. The man them are lazy. She's making the food. Now she does catering. So you can learn trades and also network. When you talk about raves, some people started off uni raves and now they're promoters.
They're popping, yeah.
That's what they do. They got their own club. Do you understand? And that came from that experience. And that's the problem. Too many people go to uni and they only go for the degree and not the experience. I always tell these young people, listen, you're at uni, you have a network, you have people. What's the biggest thing we want? We want to have people that we can relate to. And you see, when you're at uni, you have the fact that you go to the same uni as this person as an icebreaker. In the bank, we always used to call it, you know, warm lead, cold lead. And a cold lead, out in a bank, we said you can't have cold leads. We're calling our customers. They bank with us. So it can't be cold. They might not be expecting a call. They might not know what you're calling for, but they understand that you work for the bank. You have that in common. And at uni, you have that. You have people who have go to the same university, they stay in the same places, and you can use that to create a business. And if you put your business mind on, you get more than just a degree. You get that experience, that first-hand experience.
Yeah, no, I definitely echo what you're saying, but I start to think of questions on my mind, such as, would you ever advise someone not to go to university and focus on something else?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There are people that are just not made for university.
What does that work? So what does not being made look like?
So let's put it this way. There are people who can study, but actually they haven't got their experience and their life experience, their skill set doesn't set them up for when it's time to go to that interview. So we both have that degree, but actually the way I am, the career that I'm trying to go down requires me to have a certain personality, requires me to have certain attributes which I don't have. And it's not in my personality.
But with that in mind, do you think like sometimes it takes people a while to sort of grow into their personality? Because if you're thinking about it, you like typically you're going into university 18, 19, maybe 20 if you're a mature student, and then you learn all these life experiences. You're completely different to well, I would hope so. You were different to what you were when you first came in compared to when you leave. So do you think you can grow into it, or is it people just don't know, like people don't necessarily sort of fit the uni model, or is it more a case of actually they need to know what they want to do?
Yeah, I think they need to know what they want to do, and I think it's two form in a sense of you're going to go uni, you're going to do business admin. What is that? What is business administration? What does that even mean?
Yeah, but I think in some instances,
business management.
In some instances, there are people who've done those degrees, but they're making crazy money from whatever business or organization they're in, because in certain situations, all you need is a degree, as opposed to a specialism.
And I think the problem is that because it worked for the few, like it can work for the many.
Yeah.
For every 100 people that get a business administration, only 1 or 2 will get up to the next level. Because at the end of the day, most times you need to know what you're doing. When I come in for this job, I need to know what am I going for. So if I've done business administration and it had a marketing model, and I go for a marketing job, and I'm competing with someone that studied marketing, the level of knowledge I'm going to have from doing a marketing degree and focusing in that area compared to just doing one module, it's going to be very different. It's going to be a lot more likely that the other person with the full is going to get that role. So you become a jack of many and a master of none. And a lot of the time, when you want to slot into schemes like graduate schemes and graduate programs, They want people to have a specialism. And now, sometimes now they are taking, so for example, you can do it English. You might do English and end up working in banking because they don't want you to have all the kind of mistraits that they teach you at uni. They want you to come fresh. But you still would have had to excel. The fact that you're good with English and you can understand, they know that when you meet these words that you might not, you're going to grasp them. So that still helps in that, even though it's not for that field, it helps you in that career path.
I guess for me, I'm just thinking about how, well, for many people, they experience this from the get-go. What does the employer say? Someone needs experience, more so than the actual thing that they learn.
Definitely.
So in those situations, I'm thinking to myself, so those people who spent 3, 4, sometimes even 5 years at university, do they just waste their time? Because these people actually don't care about the degree, so to speak, when it comes to the actual processing of the application or whatever. And they're thinking more about what experience does this person have? And so you see these people who do a year in industry, or those people who, I don't know, took a gap year and worked in X industry or whatever. They're sort of like favored over those people who have done everything right and it doesn't necessarily work out for them. And they're thinking to themselves, how is that even the case?
I agree. I think definitely if you're going to work in finance or get those type of industries, do a gap year, do a year of experience, go and learn something. And more time, when you finish, the company you work for, they'll wait and give you that job when you finish. Because you've blended and you've learned how to work within a team. You've learned about office politics and all these things that when
That's
you
one
come
of the
in,
most important
do you know
things
what
to
I mean?
learn.
When you come in, finish your degree, you think, I know this. I'm going in there. I'm the boss. I know my thing. And actually, it's a very humbling experience when you get into office and realize that actually what they taught you doesn't actually always work that way in the real world.
So how do you think we've developed that level of entitlement? Does that make sense? Because, you know, we come out getting a degree, we've got a first, you know, we've probably got all these other additions to the degree and we're like, okay, give me the highest paying job out there. How do we sort of remove ourselves from that entitlement and get to a stage where we're sort of realistic with expectations?
I think it's the other way around. I think uni sell it to us that by coming here and achieving this, if you give your all, you're definitely going to get this job.
It's the money though, isn't it? Yeah, it's money.
And that's the thing for me is forget the entitlement. When you think about the amount of debt you've put in your head, you think, I've got to get something.
Yeah.
I can't come out here and get 25K. I've got 60, 70, 80 grand on my head now to pay. So you're thinking to yourself, I must be getting a big job. Otherwise, why did I kill myself?
But I think at the same time, see, this is where sometimes I'm split, because I know what I'm like as a person. I think it's worked for me because I had that mentality. The way I've got to where I've got to now is purely through relationships and networking. 100%, because I realized after my third year that, do you know what? Doing this whole sort of like game of getting this job and that job, it wasn't going to work. I needed to get to know people quickly and sort of like prove my worth from the get-go. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, I feel like you need to have the right sort of people around you from the get-go to tell you this stuff. You know, the 17-year-old me, or even the 16-year-old me would love to have heard this from the get-go. You know, rather than wasting my time thinking, I want to do this degree, get into this, and it's only going to take me, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years. When really and truly, it's not like that for most people.
No, I hear you. And I think the funniest thing is that what we don't realize is that actually, like you said, I've got to where I've got to through people liking me.
Yeah.
More so than my qualification.
Yeah.
The qualification just means, okay. But when you realize that in the workplace, we've all got the same qualification. That's how we got here. So now, why do I promote you? Or why do I want to hire you? Or what gets you paid more? It's your likability. How are you going to fit? When you go to interviews now, the questions they're asking you, all they're thinking is, how are you going to fit in with the team? We know you've got the experience. We know you've got the degree. We know you've got the qualification. How are you going to fit in with our team? Because that team environment, that workplace environment, even if you work solely by yourself, there's someone next to you. Do you know what I mean? How are you gonna be able to be managed?
Yeah, do you know, it's quite sad because the things you actually need to get a job, you're not necessarily taught unless you're sort of like learning those things through sort of like social dynamics and relationships with uni. Things like sort of like understanding basic interpersonal skills or confidence, or, you know, how to sort of present yourself in front of people, or how to even form a relationship. Those basic sort of like things are so crucial when it comes to the workplace, and a degree can't teach you that.
No.
The university experience could teach you that, or in some circumstances, it could actually be a really bad experience where you actually go into your shell, you don't even actually get that sort of confidence that you actually need to excel as a person within the workplace.
Yeah, I feel too many of us watch shows like The Apprentice. I feel like that the boardroom setting is what we need to do in the workplace.
Nah,
dog
it's not
eat
like,
dog.
It's not
and
like that.
I've got dirt on you, and you didn't do this. But actually, in the workplace, it's about how do you work together? How do we work as a team? How can we, and then also still having that nature of thinking, what do I need to do? I always tell people, they say, come to me, oh man, I want to get a promotion. I want to get this job, and I'm like, they're like, what do I do? The first thing you do is go get that job description.
Yeah.
It's like cheating.
Yeah.
Imagine getting the exam, getting the test you're going to do beforehand. That's what the job description is. It will tell you, to apply for this job, we are looking for X.
You just reverse
We
engineer
expect you
it.
to have this qualification. Now, go get it. Now you know, okay, I need to get this qualification. When's the next time I can do this course? How long will it take me? And you build a plan. And while you're doing that, you ask your boss, I want to do this role. Can I shadow this person 1 hour a week, or in my lunch break? Can I just spend the? You got to do do things that other people are not prepared to do.
Yeah, and I think this is why entitlement actually destroys the person.
Exactly.
Because they feel like, well, I've already got these credentials.
Come on.
No one is self-made.
No
one is self-made. Sorry for people who believe that, but my point being made is you need to go above and beyond. And I say, every single time I go into the workspace, or every time I'm in a partnership or whatever it is, I need to be a commodity. I need to make people feel like I'm actually useful, I'm valuable. Obviously, I know people can be replaced and stuff. I'm not sort of like delusional in that sense. But if you make people feel a certain way, then that changes the dynamic, because on the one hand, from a practical point of view, you can deliver the goods. Your outcomes focused, your results focused. But at the same time, you can still have the subtle influence or the right sort of like social skills to get to know people on a human level.
Yes.
Not doing any of this stuff where it's like, oh, I'm the manager or the boss, so I have to act like a manager. Acting like a manager means acting like you.
Yeah.
It's that simple and that basic. So I would say, like, with this, it's about value.
Yeah.
It's about, and I don't like saying the word value all the time because I feel like it's a buzzword right now. But at the end of the day, it's true. You need to create that right level of value from the relationship side of things, but also in terms of your outputs as well.
Definitely.
Because if you can't do that, who's going to really look at you? And this is why I'm going to get into this, because I feel like this is why the whole personal branding thing is important. It's not just for social media. It should be innately you as a person.
Yeah.
You need to always be thinking, what is my brand saying?
Yeah.
And how is that being communicated to other people?
Yeah.
Is it being communicated in a positive way?
Yeah.
Is it being communicated in a useful way? How am I making people feel at the end of the experience when they interact with me?
Exactly. And so for me, but there is an importance to a degree in a sense of the next level.
Yeah.
You see, the first level, that first initial entry role, maybe supervisor role, your degree hasn't helped you. When you want to get into senior management,
I agree. Yes, I'm so happy you said that.
that's where having a degree helps.
It's important.
Now, what people don't realize is that, and what I find a lot in the workplaces, people are getting degrees after they've got the work experience.
Yeah.
So your senior managers are going back to do masters. They're going back to do, and guess what? The workplace is paying for it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a win-win situation. Like I remember when I was sort of like, looking at different directors within the healthcare industry, and I was just seeing what their LinkedIn was saying. Masters, or a certain qualification. It was clear as day.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree that there's a certain pedigree or a certain sort of like a class, if we want to call it that, when it comes to sort of breaking that barrier. That's not always the case for everyone, because there's always going to be sort of those unicorns. But really and truly, that's the pattern that I've seen.
Definitely. And people always say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Let's remember, something like 80 to 90% of businesses fail within the first 2 years. So what's your backup? What have you got in place? And one of my friends always talks about, it's not just about 9 to 5. It's about that 5 to 9.
5 to 9, bruv.
You got to work that 5 to 9. And it is true. You've got to have your 9 to 5. Sorry.
It's okay.
Have your 9 to 5. Give you that basic income that you need. Cover your costs, cover your seat at the table. And then what you do from 5 to 9 will then allow you to build up. And once your 5 to 9 is making you more than your 9 to 5, you're ready to start.
It's a
moving
different
forward.
story. I guess if we're relating back to the whole degree thing, then I think we're both in agreement in the sense that it's not the degree that makes the person, it's the experience that makes the person, and how you carry that forward in terms of making a name for yourself as an individual. I think what's quite sad though is that obviously we've got into an era where, you know, sort of going into university went from costing nothing to being quite elitist back in the 50s or whatever it is. Then it was £1,000, then it went to £3,000, then it went to £6,000, then it went to £9,000, then it went to £12,000. That's a bit crazy.
It's crazy.
And you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? If we're looking at the common denominator and the common jobs out there, do you need a degree? I don't know. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong. And it definitely is an advantage in some degree, no pun intended. But the point being made is, so many people are doing it now.
Yeah.
That is it really an advantage?
And we have to be honest. If we're being honest, a degree for most people is a gap filler.
Yeah.
I'm 18. I don't know what to do next.
Yeah.
I don't know what career I want to go for. I don't know what job to do. Let me buy myself 3 or 4 years, and then I can figure it out then.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
It's a lot of debt for a gap fill. That's an expensive gap fill.
It is expensive, but it could be life-saving for some people, but at the same time, it may not be.
And it's painful.
It is.
Student loan coming out, you have to pay every month. Before you touch your money, they've already taken it.
Yeah.
It's painful.
I don't know. I think my conclusion to this is, depending on what you want to do and how screwed on you are, you don't necessarily need a degree, but it may be useful in the future.
Definitely. And I think also a lot of us, which we haven't really touched on today, is the parent pressure. Our parents.
How can we miss that?
Our parents are making us go and get degrees because they couldn't. And so now your number one is they couldn't. Number two is because they were taught at their generation, if you had a degree, you achieved. And number three, they were taught, if you're a parent, if your child has got a degree, then you've done your job. But it's a different world now.
I feel like it's also because they feel like it looks good.
Of course.
Like at the end of the day, it's run by ego. A lot of people are going to university because of someone else's ego.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're like, my son has gone to, whatever.
Yeah, of course.
Like, look at me.
I've done it.
They have a saying in Ghana, KSSM, it's like, big shot sort of thing.
Of course.
And it's like, at the end of the day, they're not really thinking about the pressure that's being applied to that person, especially for those sort of like practices like medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, law, architecture, all those sort of like typical, whatever it is. It's all because of ego, but also because of the other things that you mentioned before, because in their mind, they feel like it's the opportunity that they need.
Yeah.
But they don't even want to listen about the other options because they think maybe you don't know better.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're misguided because they've never learned that themselves.
Yeah.
Like at all, which is quite sad because it means that people who could have excelled in certain things are sort of being not misguided, but not given the opportunity to actually grow as people.
And it kind of goes back to what you said in the beginning about Robert Kiyosaki and the rich dad, poor dad, and that poor dad mentality of going to work with someone, get your degree, somebody will give you a job, you'll sit in that job, then you'll retire. But is that really the case in 2019? I feel like people are going, getting degrees and coming out and they're on the scrap heap. You can't, and these days you can't even get a job in McDonald's.
Yeah, it's true.
McDonald's are saying we don't want people with
mad,
degrees.
bruv. Yeah.
Because you just come in here and then the second you get a job you leave. We don't even want you if you got a degree. So now it's like you've gone to get a degree, you come back and you're in retail. And you're in retail earning the same money as people that haven't got the debt that you've got. And you say, what have I done? And that's when your decisions and your choices. And that's why it's so important, if you are going to go to uni and you are going to get this degree, make sure it's for you. Make sure it's something you are passionate about. Make sure it's something that you enjoy. And make sure it's something that you see the benefit from. And look at, what do I get? People that get this degree, what do they earn when they finish? Am I happy earning that when I finish? Because if you're not, don't start it. Because you'll only end up being resentful when you come out.
Do you know what? I'm thinking about two scenarios, okay? The person who goes into uni now, what advice would we give? And for the person who has come out of uni, let's say it's been 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, things are not really working out. What would we say to those people?
Tell me, my bro, what would you say?
So I guess for me, for the person going in, let's say they're 15, yeah, I would say they don't necessarily have to put too much pressure on themselves, okay? But at the same time, it's best to make sure they have an understanding of what sort of direction they want to move in. Get to know yourself as a person, understand what you like, understand what you don't like, understand what skills you want to develop. Maybe speak to elders or mentors or people that you can sort of learn from, so you can get an idea of what the world is working like right now and what you may want to sort of get involved in. Because the more experience you have early on, the maturer you are with your thinking, and the less like you're going to sort of like make vital mistakes later on down the line. It's okay to make mistakes at the beginning because you can bounce back from that quite quickly. I'm not saying mistakes are good, but you know, everyone's talking about, you know, failure is the way we learn. I don't know if I would use the word failure. You learn, you experiment, you iterate after that at the end of the day. So get around people who can sort of like show you the way in some sort of form or whatever it is, you know. For those people outside who have sort of graduated already and they're 5, 10, 15 years ahead, I would say it's between two things. You either stick the course and sort of make that money and bread based on what you're doing, bearing in mind you'll be unhappy, or you make a stand and you say, look, rain or shine, I'm going to do something that I actually enjoy, or at least I'm going to experiment to see if I can do something in a different industry. And if I don't like it at all, then I'll come back to what I'm doing. But the clock is ticking for you. It's a different pressure. It's not the same pressure because you got things like, it could be marriage, it could be kids, it could be paying for a mortgage, it could be something to do with your parents or whatever it is. The pressures are different. So you don't have that creative time to be playing around as much as the younger person. However, it shouldn't stop you completely from taking risk, because it will be a risk. It's just that the risk will hit you a bit harder.
I hear you. And I'm going to end on this and just say that when you're young, your focus is money. And you're thinking about how much money can I make? But you see, when you get older, you realize that the real value is time. And time is so much more valuable than money. And if I knew that when I was younger, I definitely would have thought that I would have picked a different career path. So remember, the most valuable thing is your time, not the amount of money you can earn.
It's all right. I'm going to do what he did and look at the camera. Cool. Over and out, man.
Yeah, that was good.